Lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Doe's Eat Place on Government Street at Mid-City. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. I'm Charles Hannegriff along with Jimmy Ott. Please, everybody, join me in wishing Jordan back in the studio a happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
To you.
Jordan Kitchen's back in the studio celebrating his birthday today, so good for him.
Happy.
You can't do it the way he did it. Sorry. Nice try.
Ruffin.
Ruffin was the best, man. He was the best. We're at Doe's Eat Place. Come on by and see us up for lunch. We're in the Crown Town Room as we are every other Tuesday. So love to see you come by for lunch today. Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Glad I fell asleep toward the end of the Cavs game, so I could see
stay up and watch the good
second
game?
half of the good game. Classic. I mean, they've had some really, really good. I apologize for being redundant, but it is unbelievable the difference between the regular season and its intensity. It's defense, but it's letting them play a little bit more. It's more, but I like the more diversity of the game too, Charlie. It's their attack. It's way more balanced. It's way more than just a 3-point shooting contest. And
right.
and some people like modern, well, that's analytic. Well, when it counts the most, that's not all they're doing. Oh, they're looking for clean looks at three. Of course they are, but it is guys that can't that have scored 18 points a game. They can't get their shots off in the postseason. It's so much better. And it was the old guard taking on a new team, kind of an upstart team that has, just has some, just really kind of put a little bit more effort in a regular season, emphasis on the regular season, and it's not really translating as much to the veterans and the postseason, and that is the difference. Rockets, the 2 seed, and Golden State, the 6. Is that right?
3 and 6.
Is it 3 and 6? 3 and 6.
3 and 6.
3 and 6.
Yeah.
Or in 2? Who's 2 and 7?
2 and 7 in the Western Conference is no. I'm sorry, it is 2
yes,
and 7. It's
3 and
6 with
7.
the Lakers and the Lakers and the Rockets mixed up. Yeah, it's 2 and 7.
We're looking for 6 and 7 to advance here, but it's more I mean, it's I don't know, man. It's just it's some good stuff, man. It's some really good stuff, and guys that are stars in one game, and that's the other thing. It's rarely are the two games alike. The star from one game is not what they did, and he had some real coaching going on. You had, is it Udoka, the coach for Houston?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, how many times have I said, man, just take one guy away, take one. Well, he took Curry away, and guess what? The foreign name, the white dude, the lefty for Golden State, Pedruskas,
from Santa Clara, yeah.
He made him. Guess what? He beat him.
Yeah.
He made him beat him, and he did.
He made 6
Jimmy
threes,
Butler was far from 100%, but
got it out in the fourth quarter.
He's 100% at the line.
Yeah.
No, he was never 100%, but in a real questionable call, very questionable call, way less of a foul than the Knicks game, for sure. So, I mean.
Where they admitted their mistake in the.
Oh, yeah, they did.
In the Knicks
No,
game.
they did.
They
did.
The series is 1 win, 2 losses, and 1 apology.
But this was technically because he did put his offhand, just kind of breaks it, make sure he didn't touch him. Well, you can't do that. They reviewed and they challenged, and no, you still technically a foul. It's just one that's not called a lot. But hey, it's the way it goes. And but it was. And Van Fleet, who's been kind of mostly out on this series, he was unbelievable last night. I mean, on like 8 of 11 from 3 or something. And I mean, clutch. There's just a lot of in that thing before. Ooh, Heat culture? Heat culture took a shot last night, bro, because that was a lot of quit last night.
It's the biggest margin in a playoff series.
It's way
ever.
more than a margin, Charlie.
No, I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about the whole series.
Yeah.
Because
I think it's the third largest margin.
For one game, yeah.
Yeah.
For the series, it was the largest margin in modern playoff history. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
So
122 points is what it was for the 4 games.
It kept showing Pat Riley, and the funny thing is, the crowd kind of hung around. A total bandwagon front-running sports market, minus the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Okay, and they kind of hung around because the whole story was Cleveland. Something's up there. Cleveland's kept their foot on the gas, not with their personnel, but bro, they were playing as hard as when it was 2-2, as it was, 75-25. I mean, it was unbelievable how they kept their foot on the gas and wanted to try and make it as bad as they possibly could.
Their new money is my first reaction to that. They've never been in this situation before.
That's the two teams, and that's the two teams I wanted to see if they were with regular season success.
Yeah.
When's the last time they had the number 1 seed? And
LeBron was there.
I mean, and had a little bit of a gap for the defending champs, who are the favorite to win the whole thing. You know, so it's just they have. It's against the Heat. Houston's got, Golden State certainly more formidable than the Heat, in this postseason. But and then you had Draymond Green, fat mouth. I mean, he made Sengun. They couldn't stop him. Their half-court sets were basically Sengun, and he just went on. He had to shoot like 65% from the floor. I mean, it was unbelievable, and he forced a miss. He played pretty good defense. He forced a miss on a last shot when they were down 1, less than 10 seconds to go.
And he was playing with 5 fouls from the midway point of the third quarter. They had to sit him for,
and that's when they gave up their lead.
That's right.
Yeah, and they really exploited him being out of the game. Yeah. And then Kerr did the hack. Your boy that was with the Adams, that was with the Pels for a little bit.
Steven Adams, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he played a season high 26 minutes last night, and he was defending that rim, had 5 or 6 blocks, and Kerr got him out the game. Bob hacked him, was going to put him at the line. They had to get him out.
This is this series between Houston and Golden State. It reminds me a couple of situations in the West back in the late '80s. The late '90s, where Houston had won back-to-back titles, and they kind of aged out. The Lakers were ready to take over, but not quite. You had a couple, an early Kobe and Shaq just coming over there. They went through that learning curve a little bit, and then they took over and they won 3. The Rockets are on that ascent, but the champs are still. Maybe the East would be a better example when the Pistons took over as the Celtics aged out, and then the Bulls took over when the Pistons aged out.
There's no giving that the Rockets are going to be that good, but
no, there's not. But they're on the ascent, and the Warriors know that they've got this year and maybe next.
You know who's a total non-factor right now? They got a lot. Jabari Smith Jr. Charlie, he gave him, and then their leading scorer, they sat him on a bench. I don't think he played in the fourth quarter. Green. So I mean, these games, they're learning. They're going through this playoff experience for the first time, and they're trying to figure some things out. And so, guys, who was your best player last night besides Sengun? What was your veteran?
Van Vliet. Yeah.
It was your veteran. Mm-hmm. And so they just got to figure some things out. And Green was a star in Game 2, but their star is more like a role player where you don't know what you're getting from game to game. And, that's part of being on the ascend, because that's why I like betting the divisions for the regular season on these unaccomplished teams, because they're trying harder in the postseason.
Back to the
regular season, I'm sorry.
The analytics thing for a second, because you and I both loved basketball, the NBA basketball years ago, and we both have a certain amount of disdain for the regular season product now for a lot of reasons. But you get it back in the playoffs, where analytics don't drive everything. It's a short series, and we do this in baseball too. you got to coach more. You got to be more in tune to what's happening in the game. Yeah, that might be a good shot if you do it in 80 games, but it may not be the matchup you want in 4 to 7 games. So, in my opinion, we see more basketball. We see guys that give a damn. Okay, Steve Kerr said it after the game, and I'm not blaming. Jimmy Butler's been one of the more, at least up until recent memory, one of the more aggressive, dependable players in the league. Up until his late shenanigans in Miami, Kerr said, "Look, if this was the regular season, he'd be out 2 more weeks. But it's the playoffs, so he's playing. And I don't expect him to play through every, injury during the regular season. I don't expect the baseball guys to do that either. But there are games where they just flat out mail it in completely in the regular season, and they even tell you ahead of time sometimes you're going for rest. You don't get that in the playoffs, and so that's why we like it. And, yeah, it does involve some mismatches like Cavs in the Heat, but I'll sit through those I can always turn them off, which I did, for games like what you saw in the nightcap last night.
And Buddy Hield, who Shaq highlighted at half, he was bricklaying in the first, and he was huge in Game 3 because they did it without Butler playing 1 minute in Game 3,
yeah.
And they had the Rockets had a 12-point second-half lead. I'm watching that game, and I really didn't give Golden State much of a chance, and I even told a friend we were watching, I said, Hield, they got to get something out of Buddy Hield if they're going to come back. Well, they did. In the second half, he hit some big shots as well. Yeah. He hit some really big shots. So they you look at his final box, 6 for 15. It was horrible, but it's just not from the first half to the second half. And that's the other thing, Charlie. They were down to 7.5. They started off with an 18-1 run. It's like they got their attention. Even Golden State got a little sloppy, to give up that to fall behind 7.5. And then they go out. They start 18-1 when they kind of tighten things up. And then Draymond got foul 5, and then they couldn't stop Sengun without him in the game.
3 teams with a chance to close it out tonight. Kind of been traditional type. Well, 2 of them been traditional type series. Pacers, Knicks, and Celtics all at home with an opportunity to close out.
Quadruple header today.
Yeah, and then the best series of the first round, in my opinion, the Clippers and the Nuggets, who are tied at 2, have Game 5 from Denver tonight. That's the late game. It probably will be the best of the 4. 3 teams at home trying to close it out.
Yeah, 3 of those 4 games have been outstanding. So we'll see. But good job by the NBA by staggering it from 5 to 9:30. Yeah. So we got a quadruple header. But Sengun. Who do you compare to as your favorite Turkish basketball player ever?
Well, given my extensive knowledge of Turkish basketball history, can I? He might have been. I don't remember. Hito Turkoglu, yeah.
Or am I just putting it because it's a?
Because it's the same. It sounds it's onomatopoeia. It sounds like. We're here at Dozy Place on Government Street in Mid-City.
Yeah, man, Doze is always your spot. Turkoglu is from Turkey.
Okay.
There you go. All right, so
very good.
There you go. He is the president of the Turkish Basketball Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie, you knew that.
Chilean golfers and Turkish basketball players. You get a little bit of everything.
We're over here at Doze, man, in the Crown Town room, and, this is a casual steakhouse, man. Big portions, big, delicious steaks, hand-cut steaks every morning that we have over here at Dozy Place. But, man, for lunch, we got to tell you, it's a completely different menu. Plate lunches, like the chicken fried steak. That is massive. It is massive. The meatballs and spaghetti. Those homemade meatballs over here at Doze are one of the hidden secrets in the restaurant scene here in Baton Rouge. You got the hamburger steak you can do with the mashed potatoes or the fresh-cut French fries. The hand-cut fries are the best. They are great. You can kind of create, mix and match with your grilled or deep-fried chicken sandwiches to your burgers. And, again, always with those hand-cut fries, different club sandwich, and, of course, some salads as well. But one thing is always you're going to get generous portions over here at Dozy Place on Government Street in the heart of Mid-City. And, right around the corner, we got, we got Cinco de Mayo on that 5th and that 9th. You got the big event that goes on Friday night that's pretty much and all the way up and down Government Street from Jefferson basically to Park. Past Acadian, past Baton Rouge High, It's the White Knight, City Night. I forget the exact name, Charlie. I apologize. But it's a great event. And our friends here at Doe's are always participating, of course, at Roken, all a fine place here in Mid-City.
Live at Doe's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand, 1045ESPN.com, and also on LouisianaSports.net. New Handycast up from yesterday. Dan Canterbury, Doug Thompson, myself. You can get that on YouTube right now under Handycast. That's available as we broke down the 3 games between LSU and Tennessee this past weekend. After the fact here, after the draft is over, we've had a few days to let this breathe a little bit more. It seems like we're getting more and more of the Shedeur Sanders stories and why, and maybe other reasons why, or more details on the reasons that we got that he dropped as far as he did. Jimmy, Rick Neuheisel is a very respected broadcaster. He was a good coach. Made a mistake and got, I think, kind of run out a little bit earlier of his coaching career than he should have for something that was pretty minor at the time. But anyway, he is not a guy that's he's not a hot take guy. From the time you've listened to him. No. He's not going to say something just for a reaction. And he is a coach. Okay,
no,
a long-time coach, and he had a pretty strong opinion about what happened. Or another layer to the Sanders story.
Well, he reported on Saturday that, he was doing, kind of with Jacob. I think they might have been with different stations. I'm not sure. I think maybe Neuheisel was with the NFL Network side of the Sirius XM. I think Jacob may have been with some guys on the college football part of it. I'm not sure. Okay. But they're covering the draft, and it may have been after the fact, but it was on Saturday's broadcast, and a lot of people cited it because Neuheisel is a guy, former player, former coach. Keep in mind, he was a former walk-on, and of course, he coached at Colorado. He was the offense coordinator, quarterbacks coach for McCartney, and then he took over. Then he went to Washington, and because he was playing a March Madness pool, got run out of it.
It's a big offense, right?
Yeah. But he came back and coached at UCLA, for a little bit. But anyway, he's very more than fair. It's in a promotional tone. He's always trying to promote, and he maybe granted, he did not like the dissolve of the Pac-12. That's where he played, and he thinks there's some good players and some good football out there, and to just kind of, to be imbalanced and things like that.
I'm with him on that, by the way.
Yeah. It's just a lot of but he's never been an attacking type of – there's no attacking commentary. So he's not going to try and attack Shedeur in any way, is what I'm saying. It would be out of character for him. But he just said that he went detail. And I was like, man, for him to slide like this, the smoke, it had to be some smoke. Keep in mind, no teams wanted out that they're taking him off their board as well because somebody might want to move to their spot, to pick him in danger that they might want to take him, whatever. But he said that Shedeur Sanders took a FaceTime call in the middle of one of his team interviews. The team interviews where you have to be on. They talk about these team interviews all the time, and asking him stuff like, "Would you think about going from your first year offense coordinator to your second year offense coordinator?" He went into detail about that, saying, "Well, the second year offense coordinator wanted to do things more like I wanted to do them. The first one to do site adjustments at the line where I had to read with the wide receivers, and I didn't want to do that." So just all kinds of things. Boomer Esiason.
That's a big deal.
Boomer Esiason jumps in saying that at least 3 NFL teams took Shedeur off of their draft board completely due to his entitled attitude. So you got a little bit of it, like, man, the interviews and go, Dabo won't talk about it. He's just taking the fifth. Mm-hmm. it obviously didn't go well with them. And who spent more time than the New York Giants? Even brought him in last week,
Yeah,
right?
there was not a single NFL team that spent more time in Colorado than the Giants did. And you think the Giants didn't? If they would have thought, quarterback poor as they were 2 months ago or 3 months ago when they were doing this, that they wouldn't have taken him if they thought he was everything. And that really goes for every team, but the Giants especially. The league is starving for quarterbacks. I mean, there's so few people in the world that play this position at this level well. You think they're going to pass on him if they think he's the guy?
And he is a passer first,
which
he's
helps. Yeah.
Well, no, but he's you got to make plays from the pocket, and I mean he's not a one look and run guy. That's not his deal. Now he scrambles backwards way too much and makes a bad play worse. But he's a passer. He is not an athlete. I mean,
I don't think of him as a running quarterback at all. No.
What's that?
I don't think of him as a running quarterback, like a running threat.
But I'm saying
he scrambles around, but no, I don't think of him as
they're dying for guys that can pass. Dying for arm talent. Not here's the next athlete we're going to try and turn into a quarterback. I mean, the same old stuff there. I mean, he's so at that whatever that percentage of it. Okay, his dad is a distraction. There's just how much of a distraction. Why could it be? Where there was some media noise last year about where he's going to be as far as who should hire him as their NFL coach. With that little experience as a coach, with that little experience, there's a lot of media noise. So what happens if do coaches really want that? They don't want that. They don't want the if he's not performing as well, or if he's not playing, ahead of a struggling quarterback. I mean, the whole thing, there's a lot of layers to the distraction. But also we wondered about, was he just that entitled? This is more of every college football is more entitled than they were 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay? But how bad was it? Now we're getting some of the details.
And I don't think any one of these things by themselves would have disqualified him. But when you add that to the jersey retirement, maybe not his fault, didn't do him any good. Setting up the room didn't do him any good. Some of his comments post-game in a couple of those Colorado things against his opponents didn't do him any good. You add this to the fact, and then you get back to the basic thing, which is how good is he?
No, and that's part of it too.
How good is he?
And he might be a second-round talent. Well, Jackson Dart should be. I mean, I don't see any difference between Jackson Dart as a prospect and Shedeur. I see some things they can do, and I see some things they can't.
Neither one of them is a can't miss.
Would you put them close?
Close. I like Dart a little bit better, but not a lot. Neither one of them is, like I said, a can't miss prospect. The Deion thing, I think people misunderstand maybe where the Deion distraction comes in. I don't. This is my take. I don't think that Deion is going to be calling coaches in Shedeur's team and telling them how to game plan. I don't think that he is going to be constantly badgering a GM or an owner or whatever. And I think his comments in the media, especially now, are going to be pretty blunted for him to just say, listen, man, Shedeur's on his own now. Let him do that. I think. I could be wrong on that. But the biggest thing I think the teams fear about this is the distraction. If they're not going well, the pressure, and it could be just media pressure, fan pressure, and they just don't want to deal with it, of you guys aren't doing well. Put Shedeur in, fire your coach, and hire Deion. And I don't know that they want to deal with that.
There's a lot of media coverage and noise you can't control anyway.
Correct.
You can't.
Yeah.
And you got to tune that out.
And that's not Deion's fault that his name's going to come up. He's just signed a contract in Colorado.
On a different level.
Yeah.
Well, it's good and bad with every situation. It may have provided him a guarantee. Who did he have to beat out for the job at Jackson State or Colorado? I mean, really? Was there ever any competition? Well, how many kids do that? How many kids don't have any competition? I mean, it's settled. That is an entitled process. I mean, it just is. He's getting a job. There's never, ever any choice about.
I don't know how hard Deion tried at Colorado. He was clearly when they got to Jackson State, he was the best option that Deion could bring in. Okay, but at Colorado, I don't know how they were 0-12 the year before.
Did he have to beat out anybody as a true freshman?
No, not of any.
Okay, well,
not
that
of any
should,
consequence.
that's.
But it's at Jackson State. I mean, it's not if he'd have gone as a true freshman
Charlie,
at Colorado,
anywhere you should, as a true freshman, you still
well, he
have
beat
to.
somebody out there. There was somebody on the team.
You think
but
there was actually a competition?
I think there was another quarterback there. Was he the best one? Yeah, I think he probably
Didn't
was.
say that.
Okay.
Didn't say that.
Was there anybody of his level to actively push him? No.
He knew from the point he stepped on that game. Charlie, there's people that have transferred. I mean, early in the transfers. The guy that went from like Notre Dame to Florida State. Yeah. He didn't win it.
Right.
No, he went there thinking he was getting it.
Okay,
they brought him in to be the.
I get where you're going, but this was Jackson State. Okay, he was going to be by far the best guy that they could bring in.
You're not getting it.
No, I hear what you're saying.
It's just you're a true freshman. You don't know if there's a 3-year starter there. You don't know if there's a junior and a senior there. Okay, we don't know enough about the SWAC, depth charts to know. But you got to know this: not any true freshman knows it. No, no matter what.
Yeah.
Oh no matter what, he was starting, and that's entitlement. Period.
Yeah, I get it. Look. When you carry that into the NFL, you're no longer entitled.
Well, you really down on SWAC,
you cannot be.
Man, come on, man.
Come on, man. He was going to be the best quarterback on that team.
I would think so, but we've seen some guys. Arch Manning wasn't the best quarterback on his roster. He's had for 2 seasons, Charlie. He's the best quarterback on that roster.
You think he's better than Quinn Ewers?
Yes.
Last year, you thought he was better than Quinn Ewers?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, they made the Final Four with Quinn Ewers as a quarterback.
But you don't know who was on Jackson State's roster that year, his true freshman year.
And neither do you.
No.
Just guessing that Shador was better.
But if the Mannings can't have entitlement, that's trumping a big hand. Huh? I see you four aces, and I got a royal.
Arch has done, his time to work his way up to the starter. Look, how much money does Quinn Ewers leave on the table this weekend?
A lot.
I mean, he's a 7th-round pick of the Dolphins. He had a year of eligibility left. He could have put himself in the transfer portal and conducted one hell of an auction.
A lot. We talk about the WNBA players. They're leaving something on the table as far as flat-out salary. I mean, they're not making just to play, not the endorsements, to play what they would, to getting paid to play in college. Ewers, without a doubt. 5, 6. I mean, Tennessee. You can name his price.
Tennessee was going through all that stuff with Nico before we knew it. If Quinn Ewers calls him up, and says, "I'll play quarterback."
What's his rookie salary with first 7th rounder?
200 and 400 and something.
Don't forget our friends at K&M Automotive. K&M Automotive on Segan at Perkins. My buddy Jason Payne with doing everything for you. That check engine light comes on, we're going to take care of you. Come on in. Belts, hoses, AC repair, transmission, or just an oil change, whatever it is on domestic vehicles. Go by and see my buddy Jason Payne. 8445 Segan Lane. They're open 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. It's the only place I take my vehicle, K&M Automotive.
Live at Doe's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Heading out to Las Vegas, deep in the desert, lives one man. One man of many sports bets. The one and only Andy Isco.
Let me correct myself before we bring Andy in. It's been a while since I looked at rookie minimums in the NFL. They're up to $840,000, and where Ewers was drafted, $4.3 million for 4 years is the slot.
He'd have made that in 1 year in Knoxville.
Of course, he'd made way more than that. But I shot way low with the 450 or so, and of course that it's not guaranteed. You got to make the team, but that's what the slot is for where he was drafted.
He's also a guy that would kind of his NIL shenanigans early on.
He would have made easy 5 times that at Tennessee.
No question. Let's bring in Andy. Andy, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, guys. How about yourselves?
Doing good. So we are. NHL, NBA playoffs. I mean, you got MLB season. You coming down to the end of this. It's kind of one of the newer bets that's going to make that catches a little steam, and especially as it comes down to stretch, it's very interesting. But the most wins in a month in MLB, So we're winding down the last couple of days here in MLB. We're getting ready to start the month of May. So some books combine the last week or two of March and included in April. Fastest team to 20 wins. How about this, Charlie? The New York Mets, who took care of business in a big way. You think they were steaming a little bit from losing a 7-1 lead on Sunday. So what you
I was steaming the other way when the Mets were up 7-1.
Oh, you had the Mets, or you had the Nationals?
Well, I had the Nats, so I was very pleased with the outcome. So that gets chalked up to whatever you call the result, the reverse of a bad beat.
Well, I had the Nationals on Sunday with you, and I followed them up with a small bet yesterday as well. So I didn't fare out so well yesterday. But tell us where you are with some of these series or some of these. In the NBA, NHL, and just kind of what you've been gravitating to.
Well, I haven't done a lot in the NHL. I did have a couple of plays earlier in the series, but now the prices are such that it's very difficult because the teams that appear overmatched just don't look like they're going to be able to mount much of a challenge now that they're deep in the series. And I guess if you could parlay some series prices where you're laying big numbers, I guess the Colorado-Dallas series has been one that's a bit more competitive as far as that one goes. That's been kind of interesting. But in the NBA, I usually avoid game fours, and I like to look at game fives, either from a total standpoint or from a side standpoint. And for a lot of these game fives, I like to look under the totals, and the reason being is Game 5 is critical when the series. Well, I'm talking about when series are tied 2-2. Game 5 is critical because that's the first game in which the loser is going to be facing elimination. Okay, after it becomes a best-of-3 series, and I tend to think that teams will tend to slow the pace down a little bit as far as trying to not make too many mistakes, lessen the number of possessions, and so I generally like to look under the total. Now, that'll also happen in the situation that we have tonight in Boston with Orlando. Boston looking to close out Orlando, and Orlando, of course, a double-digit favorite, looking to probably shorten the number of possessions there to stay within striking distance of Boston and make it maybe a 5-minute game if they're successful in doing that. And we've seen that in the total, which has been generally a couple of very low-scoring games, and a couple of games that were in the mid-aughts, I believe. I think one was, maybe one was a little bit higher, I think, the game 3. But I look for Orlando to be able to try and at least control the pace. Often what I'll do is I will also take a look, rather than get involved pregame, is I'll take a look at the first quarter, and that will give me a sense of what these teams are trying to do. Are they trying to play the way they play and hope to avoid elimination, or are they trying to, getting down 3-2, or are they going to try and make it a 5-minute game at the end?
And look, the Pacers in Milwaukee. I'm a little confused on this one. Why this thing is so low? I mean, they're going to score 120. When they score 117,
that one I do like.
117, 123, 117, and 129. Charlie, Lillard's out. They're down 3-1. They're kind of okay, but I mean, they're not a great defensive team to begin with. It's just, I don't know, man. I mean, it just. Milwaukee has gotten respect by the odds makers by these lines. In the one game they won,
maybe a little too much.
No, there's no question. There's no question. They didn't come close to. They didn't come close to covering, and the only one they did, they were down 12 in Storm back and won that one. But that's the one that really sticks out to me. Speaking of Clippers and Lakers, I mean, both games 1 and 2 at Denver, which are at tonight. It's 2-2 again. These things were, 50-50 games all the way. And,
I can't go against Denver at home in basically a pick'em game, and certainly not as a 1.5 to 2 point underdog.
I would.
Clippers are the better team, but you're just making it. There's nothing. Denver can win this game. They can win the series, but certainly they don't deserve to be even a small underdog at home.
Drew Holiday is out in the Celtics game tonight again, and Jaylen Brown is questionable. You think maybe the Celtics with a 3-1 lead may kind of take precautionary approach here.
They sat Tatum earlier in the series, and they weren't ended up 3-1.
Yeah, they sat him, and that's the game they lost. No. That's the game they did not cover. That was game 2. They won but did not cover. So they've been kind of a precautionary approach because it really, starts to heat up. Then they got the Knicks in the next series, and everybody's in kind of projecting, Cleveland, Boston, in the Eastern Conference Finals. So
it's kind of like why I like Orlando not Orlando, but I like the under tonight because Orlando can slow the pace and Boston will not be at full strength.
That has been the lowest total of the games, and some have gone over, some have gone under, but the last couple I think have both gone over the total. They've been right at 197. So the 2-2. First one under, first one over, second one over, a third one under. Game 4 went over as well, and there's 3 of those situations tonight where there's 3-1 leads, and sometimes you can have that team that's facing elimination can have a big effort. I just don't think the Bucks have it, but I could see that for the Pistons and for the Magic tonight.
Yeah, the one with the Pistons, I certainly look to take the points, but I'm just a little bit concerned that this is, great season for Detroit. I think they achieved a lot more than anyone expected to, especially where they ended up getting seeded and all that. But it's like paying your dues, like we've seen so many times, especially in the NBA. You've got to go through a season where you get an early elimination, you get a taste of the playoffs, and then you build upon that the following season. We've seen that many times over the decades, that teams have a little adversity, losing early, and then they come on and become contenders for 2 or 3 seasons for the conference and championship rounds. So I'd like to take Detroit. I may actually look over the total in this one because I do think Detroit will be a bit more aggressive. So my concern for Detroit is how they will play late in the game. We've seen the Knicks do extremely well in the late stages of some of those games that they won, especially Game 1, of course, when they went on that 21-0 run. And even in the last game, where, by the way, the official admitted that there was a foul on that last shot, but Detroit was in position with a couple of minutes to go to not only win the game, but to cover the 2.5, and they could. So I'm a little bit concerned on the road about being able to hang in there in the last few minutes of a game where they're trailing. The Knicks know they can win, and the Knicks, again, they have the motivation. Let's win the game and have a little extra rest before the next round.
All right, the Warriors and T-Wolves both up 3-1 as the lower seed, going to the Rockets and Lakers on the road. They both showed exhale. T-Wolves were terrible to start off the game in Game 2 after a 1-0 lead. Warriors, they got blasted as well in Game 2 on the road when they were up 1-0, but partly that was when they lost Jimmy Butler as well. They lost him in that game. You expect them to exhale in these spots as well. Both are, it was at 4.5 and 5.5, Lakers and Rockets at home.
I'm not sure about either team. I think Minnesota, I may stay away from Game 5. I'm not sure yet, or maybe it'll be an in-play game, but I would certainly look to back Minnesota if it does go to a Game 6. And I'm not sure what Houston can be able to do. I mean, the Warriors, they are not a typical number 6 seed. If they had Butler for the entire year, this team probably would have been right up there. Not necessarily challenging Oklahoma City. They were just too far ahead of everybody. But they might have very well been challenging Houston for the number 2 seed. So I think kind of like the same thing I say in the NHL with Minnesota Wild. They're not a typical wild card team. They were, pardon the pun there, but they were a team that had the best record in the league for the first third of the season, and they had a couple of key injuries, and they played well late, and that's why I'm not surprised that they're giving the Golden Knights a great series here, because they're not a typical wild card team that based upon the fact that they had to overcome so much and played well late, that I won't say they're underseeded, but they're not a typical seed of that level.
Let me back up on the Warriors for a second in a Game 5. Haven't we seen this franchise, and I know it's a different team now, I don't want to say tank, but basically mail in Game 5 when they've had a vice grip on the series.
Memphis
is the one that comes in. They were laughing on
like 4. Yeah.
And they were laughing on the bench.
No, they have a history.
Yeah, and they did that in New Orleans when they had a 3-0 lead. They basically gave the Pelicans Game 4.
But it was a 3-0 lead in New Orleans?
Yeah,
okay.
and they basically mailed in Game 4.
Yeah,
So we've seen them do that before.
Yeah.
I think Houston is a much more difficult foe to take that attitude towards. And the other thing is, these guys have played a lot of extra basketball with all their playoff appearances the last few years. They were a lot younger. Now they've got an opportunity to get some rest. I think they want to take care of business in Houston and just get out of there and advance to the next round, and they're capable of doing it.
But if you sat Jimmy Butler in this game and gave him basically 5 days,
I would keep him home on the flight.
Right? You give him basically 5 days before he's got to play again.
And I'd like to have him 100% because he's going to play that type. And I would like to have him, at full strength. But yes, Houston presents much more of a threat than the Memphis team and this
Golden State team isn't as good as those Golden State teams either.
No, of course they're not. And you can see that with the celebration last night.
That's exactly why I think they want to take care of business if they can in Game 5 and have that extra rest for everybody.
Andy, one quick thing on the way out. If we're going to bet, best record in April, which you have to do early, and April 1st is on Thursday, do you have to look at the Colorado Rockies schedule and see who they play the most and just go there and start from there?
Yeah, them and the White Sox, yeah.
Even the White Sox, because the White Sox they would roll this Rockies team this year. 4-24 now.
Yeah, I think you do have to take a look at it. I don't get involved in that at this stage of the season. I'm just more interested, why have to wait a month to collect? You can use that the extra bankroll from winners during the month.
There you go. Thank you, Andy. Follow Andy on Twitter at VegasAndy711. Always great stuff. We appreciate it. Don't forget our friends at Relief Windows for windows, doors, siding, and shutters. 288-8138, or you can go to reliefwindows.com. I sure wish. Does your homeowners association require wood windows? We've got the best ones for you. Wood windows, again, we are the premier gelled wood windows companies. These wood windows combine the beauty of real wood with high-tech energy efficiency features for all climate zones. Well, we got some extreme weather conditions, from the heat, from the rain, the damn snow this past year. The R-Last Wood gelled windows come with a 20-year general warranty and a lifetime limited warranty against rot and termites, providing you years of beauty and minimal maintenance. They look good, they're functional, and they last. Wood windows at Relief Windows. 288-8138 and reliefwindows.com.
Live at Doe's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Back Lunch.
At lunch with Ott and Hanny from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Adam Silver's room reading is improving. Jimmy, the commissioner of the NBA, acknowledged yesterday the league is having discussions with the Players Association over going to a U.S. versus the world format in the All-Star game.
Adam.
He's a hockey fan, right?
Adam.
He's watching. He's paying attention.
Yes.
The All-Star game is going to be played in the middle of the Winter Olympics next year. So they're moving it to an afternoon time slot on television, and so it's going to lead into the Olympic coverage that night. I think that's fine. USA versus the world would give a tremendous an international team could look something like Giannis, Victor Wembanyama, Joker, SGA, Pascal Siakam, Luka Doncic, and Karl Anthony Towns.
It wouldn't be the hockey intensity, but it'd be way better.
Way better. First class, second class, no class coming up as we start hour number 2 from Doe's 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch, first class.
I want a seat in first class where I was booked and ticketed over a month ago.
Second class.
No man should be subjected to the indignity of being labeled or treated like a second-class citizen.
And no class.
Life had become like school on Sunday. No class.
I'll tell you what then. Why don't you call me sometime when you have no class?
First class, second class, and no class. Brought to you by Supreme Rice. Buy local with Louisiana-based Supreme Rice since 1936.
And return here at Doe's Eat Plays for first class, second class, and no class. We're on Government Street here in Mid-City. Come on by and see us for lunch. I want to encourage you, if you hadn't heard about this story, and I can't do the whole thing because it's too long, but I want to make you aware of it. If you got some time, to check out the story at MLB.com on Dylan Cruz and Aubrey White, who is a young girl who has autism, and they formed a bond when Aubrey White's first words, she was a nonverbal child. The first words that she ever spoke were Dylan Cruz when she heard it off of a television broadcast. The story goes from there to her parents bringing her out to the park, Cruz hosting her basically at Alex Box Stadium, and they formed a bond. That went on as he got to the Nationals. They're trying to work it out where she can go to a game up there. But the story is fantastic. It's long, but it's really well done. And for all of the stories we hear about athletes when they screw up, there are a lot of them that give back and form some of these special relationships. It's worth your time at MLB.com, the relationship between Dylan Cruz and Aubrey White. I wanted to mention that in our first class portion of the program today.
By the way, too, we talked about a week and a half ago at Walk-Ons. I said that even though the hits aren't there, he's showing some signs that he's hitting the ball more sharply. He may be busting out of it. In the 4-game set against the Mets, where they split 2-2, he had 7 hits in the series. Yeah. He's up to 229.
The average is up 100 points in the last 15 days, I believe, something like that. Up from 120 to 229.
I have
in
the last 10.
Okay.
So
it's about 14 or 15 days. He's up over 100 points.
He's in the last 10 games. He's got hits in 9 of the 10.
Yeah.
It's coming on now, and he was doing a lot of things to try and get him going. You know, the base running has been. I mean, there ain't nobody running harder in the bases right now than him. I mean, but it looks like he may be just fine.
Yeah,
because that cat from Baltimore, I don't know. No, he's not hitting, man. This is his second time around. He is as a big time prospect as there is anyway. It's just no guarantee.
He's come out of it, and good guy on the field and off. We lost 2 people in the last week, a little over a week in one of the cases that we wanted to talk about. Number one, Mike Patrick, who died last week at the age of 80. Mike Patrick called so many big games for ESPN in football and basketball, and he was one of my favorite announcers. One of my favorite calls was the 2007 LSU Auburn game, the one Flynn to Demetrius Byrd with a second left on the clock. But he called a bunch of them, and he did a lot of ACC basketball. He did a lot of SEC football. He worked with a lot of different partners. Some of the biggest names at ESPN. What I liked about Mike Patrick,
Omaha,
Jimmy,
College World Series.
I loved him at the College World Series. But what I liked about it is whenever I listened to Mike Patrick, I always felt like I was informed, and I never felt like I was dominated. I never felt like he tried to dominate a broadcast. He was just a very smooth, fluid pro in calling in a basketball or a baseball, basketball, or football game.
The play-by-play guy is not supposed to be the star. He's supposed to accentuate. Right. He's supposed to enhance, supplement the product. And he did.
I thought he did as well as anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. No, he's a pro. He's a pro and versatile. But I mean, for us being in this market, whether it's Omaha to college football to college basketball, I mean, he was and then of all people on the biggest sports platform there is, ESPN, and the biggest dog out there, the NFL. He was the original play-by-play voice of Sunday Night Football.
That's right. Yeah. I worked with Joe Theismann on those games. He was fantastic, and he's been retired now for 5 or 6 years before he passed. Mike Patrick passed away at the age of 80. The other death in the past week was Steve Mongo McMichael. Jimmy, you've said this many, many times. Your favorite team of all time was the '85 Bears. They're the best team of all time. and McMichael was right in the heart of, I think, the best defense ever in the NFL. Maybe one of those Steelers teams, but or the Ravens 2000 champions can make a statistical case. But that 85 Bears team, most people would agree that they stand by themselves at the top of that list. And McMichael was a defensive tackle on that team, but he was a good pass rusher, and he was the consummate Chicago Bear. I mean, you think of Singletary and Butkus and some of the great Bear players. McMichael's right there with him. He went into the Hall of Fame last year. He was a multiple-time first-team All-Pro, and, of course, he was on that Super Bowl team. And he later became a professional wrestler after that and enjoyed a certain amount of success there. Every time I read one of these obituaries of a player, coach, broadcaster, whatever, I always go to see what I missed. I know about McMichael. I know how good a player he was. I know how tough he was. I read the obituaries to see, what did I miss? What did I not know about him? Steve McMichael played 4 years at the University of Texas as a starter, okay, in the late 1970s on the defensive line. When Steve McMichael left the University of Texas, where I think we all agree they've got a pretty strong football history, he was the leading tackler in the history of the program. As a defensive lineman. It's an amazing statistic. And he's still, some 45 years after he left there, still in the top 10 of all-time tacklers at the University of Texas. Now, think about that. They're playing so many more games now. The defensive backs, the linebackers, obviously a lot more tackles. As a defensive lineman, Steve McMichael is still number 7 on the all-time tackles list at the University of Texas as a defensive lineman. Mongo was a ball player, Jimmy, and I know you love that team.
It's the best team in the history of the NFL for a single season. And, I mean, they gave they did not give up a significant score in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That was – now, they shut out the Rams. They shut out the Giants in the 2 playoff games at Soldier Field. Shut them out. In the Super Bowl, they fumbled the opening kickoff. So New England's got the ball. They gave up a field goal after they held New England to 3 and out. It was 46-3 before New England scored their next points. They basically shut out their opponents from any significant score for the entire playoffs.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Richard Dent. Was it Shared? No, that was
Dent,
Dallas. It was just Dent.
Dent was the MVP.
It was Dent, but it was the defense.
Sure.
It was the defense, and they just had to do a few things from time to time. And McMahon could connect from time to time. Willie Gault would connect. Of course, Walter Payton was the mainstay. He was the most dependable. But, no, that was the most dominant team I've seen in my lifetime.
The number of players they had on that defense, Dent and Hampton on the other side, and Singletary, who's a Hall of Famer, and Wilbur Marshall, who was a great player, and Otis Wilson, who was great that year, and Gary Fensick, who was a terrific safety.
And they had a madman attacking style defensively.
Yes,
Yes.
Buddy Ryan.
Me and my dad used to laugh, like, the 46 defense going to go. That's fine. You better have those guys.
Yeah. There were,
but Buddy would. He'd step on the throat, boy. Defensively, he was coming, Jack.
It felt like they were playing with 12. I mean, when you watch that team, felt like they were playing. They were more like there's more guys that we could drop.
That's a great defense. It feels like they're playing with 13, 14 guys out there. No, they were smothering. That's what makes it also unbelievable that Miami. And you wonder if that team went and played around with Miami that night because Marino picked them apart. We know about the fluke play, the tip touchdown for to put. But it was a game winner, huh?
I don't know if it was a game winner, but it was obviously it was a huge play in the ball game.
But it was kept them from the. That was it. There was
and the 72 Dolphins, a lot of them were on the sideline that night.
Of course they were.
They were.
Because it's fairly deep in the season. It was like game 10 of a 14-game, 16-game schedule.
It was a 16-game schedule. It was a prime time. It was a Monday night game. I remember it very, very well. And the 72 Dolphins, who have always taken great delight when the last team loses, got it right in front of them that night.
And New England wasn't They were. It was sort of a flukish. They won the turnover battle in all 3 playoff games. Okay, including down in Miami, AFC Championship game at Oakland. Okay, but to not give up a point. Not give up a point.
No, they were.
Think about that.
They were phenomenal. And McMichael, who passed away from ALS, was 67 years old. Second class, good with a chance to be great. I gave this number out yesterday. Hold me to this, Jimmy. I know you will, especially if I'm wrong, later in the year. But the Saints drafted 9 players in the 9 positions that they had going into the draft. This was something that we wanted them to do. Please, if you want to trade down, that's fine, which they don't do. But please don't trade up. Use your draft capital. Try and remake this roster. They drafted 9. They signed 11. I'm gonna hope that 9 of these players make the team. We'll see how I do in September. I'm not saying all 9 of the draft choices will, but usually 1 or 2 undrafted free agents make a team. So if I can get 7 of the 9 drafted players and 2 undrafted free agents to make the team, you'll turn over somewhere between 15 and 20% of this roster. They'll get younger, they'll get cheaper, hopefully they'll get faster, and hopefully they'll get better. That's my good with a chance to be great. Thank you for not panicking in the draft, Mickey Loomis, and letting it come to you for once. And let's see if you found some players here.
100%. When have they drafted 9 guys?
It's been a minute.
Okay.
It's been a minute.
You know, in Mickey we trust for my health because, you know, as long as he's there, I'm in good health.
Right.
So that's what Charlie tells me. But no, this is how many of these guys are like, oh, no, what are you doing with this draft? How many? None of them, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we got to be fair, and we could not have asked for a better path, a better approach than what they did. That's leading up to this thing, too. They built some draft capital, and they maintained it, which I will say, of all the things that Mickey Loomis is guilty of, I can't kill him when Peyton was there for that track record. I can't do that. I know who's winning that power struggle between Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis in the draft room. There's no doubt. I mean, Peyton's, you know, he's an impulsive guy, whether he's on game management with the challenge flags or in the draft room.
Fair enough.
And so, you know, also, is it just Mickey or is it just kind of a, you know, he and Kellen Moore now are going to be, they value draft capital. I mean, you know, the only team that moved up kind of besides the Giants, which everybody's applauding the Giants, which let's wait and see how that plays out, because how Dart does is going to determine a lot with their draft. But they certainly did. Everybody would believes the right thing. He had 2 blue chippers in his draft, and that's, you know, the 2nd and 3rd pick, and they stayed there and they made that pick and they got one of those guys. But Charlie, we can't.
The Falcons traded up
everything.
As well.
Yes, yeah, that's true. The gift that keeps on giving there.
Gave up plenty.
But the approach leading up to the draft and then on draft day or the draft 3 days, these are the things we've been pleading for. We've been asking for this type of approach, have we not?
Yes, and to be fair, Mickey did move up in 22. That was the Olave Penning trade that the Eagles are winning. But the last 2 years and plus this year, they've largely stayed put with where they were. It hasn't been as important. I'm trying to do the post Sean Payton stuff. Mm-hmm. Now, the 22 draft, not real good. 23 draft, outside of Brzee, you haven't gotten a whole lot. Jordan Howard's played
gotten a ton.
Brzee got better last year, but he has not been a dominant guy. Fuaga was a good pick last year, but after you get past him and McKinstry, you didn't get so he hasn't made as many moves, but you're missing on guys.
You're not just giving away picks.
You're keeping your picks, right?
I mean, they had a lot of needs, right? They needed a lot of picks. They kept them all.
Last time they drafted 9 players was in 2015. So you're going
Black
back
and gold Super Bowl.
You're
Let's
going
go
back a decade. You said gift that keeps on giving. You ready for no class? Are you ready for this? Derek Carr went to church Sunday.
Oh my God!
Derek Carr went to church Sunday and gave a very nice sermon speech, whatever you want to call it, and said, Yes, I have a shoulder injury. Despite what ESPN says, and despite what some lady on a podcast says, which she's talking about Diana Rossini, I have a report to prove it. The team knows about it. We've been in constant communication. There's nothing wrong. We're trying to figure it out. We're going to go forward, and that's it. Okay? I've been thinking, what is going on? Lord, why do I have to deal with this nonsense? Oh, boy. Okay. Let me tell you why you have to deal with this nonsense, Mr. Carr. And first of all, you're doing this. I'm not going to criticize anybody for any of their religious beliefs or whatever they do, but you did this in church where you're certain not to be booed, okay? I'm not sure anywhere else that would have been the case if you'd have done this in public. But you have to deal with this because it's not nonsense. You have enough money and enough time in the league to where if you don't want to be bothered, you don't want to talk to me, you can go off anywhere you want. You can go coach high school football. You can go live anywhere on the planet. You've made enough money, and nobody will ever bother you again. But when you take $40 to $60 million a year from a professional football franchise, people are going to expect to know. And you've had ample opportunities to make a statement about this. You could have made a statement through the club. You could have made a statement on any of your social media platforms. You could call any reporter, including Diana Rossini, who put this out, and clarified the situations, and you chose to do none of that. Mickey Loomis, the general manager, was required to have a press conference last week by the NFL because every team is required before the draft to have one, and he shut down all of the speculation. You could have said at any point, I had an MRI. This is the situation. We're trying to rehab it so we don't have to have surgery, or we're going to have surgery at this point, or some other means to an end to get you back on the football field at some point. You could have been in the building to at least say, hey, I'm rehabbing, or hey, I'm resting, or hey, we're planning for surgery for the voluntary workouts, and you weren't there. And you have the nerve to say, why is everybody speculating about all of this? You are not an anonymous person, Mr. Carr. You're the starting quarterback, or we at least were, for the New Orleans Saints. You make an outlandish amount of money, and yes, I'm sorry, with that goes a certain obligation to inform the public. I'm not saying you got to give your entire medical history chapter and verse, but when you're not there, and when you don't say anything, and when it's this big a deal, and when the team doesn't say anything, and your brother is speaking for you, and you're talking in church, yes, I'm sorry, you're going to take a little bit of heat for this. There's a responsibility that goes along with being a starting quarterback. It's called leadership. And I'm sorry, but he's just proven time and time again. I don't think he's a terrible quarterback. Okay, he's not by far from the bottom of the league, but he's also shirked his responsibilities too many times to be a leader and a spokesperson. I'm sorry, that's part of the quarterback position. If you're a defensive lineman, you can get away with never talking to anybody. But you can't do that at quarterback. And so why do you have to put up with this nonsense? It's not nonsense, okay? It's called business, and it's called accountability.
Being a little rough, huh, Charlie? $69 million. I mean, that's not enough to ask for a guy to show up to the first day of minicamp. But anyway, I mean, we stay away from religion and politics on this show, but leaning on the Lord for sympathy. I mean, this dude has brought it to an all-time low, man. I mean, let me go to church, publicize it, how I'm doing. Man, that is this is an all-time low. This is weak, and I mean, you go and that's just you. We knew you're a wuss, but damn, dude. I mean, you when we think he just can't embarrass himself anymore, it's unreal. Let me get my brother to try and cover.
He or the Saints could have said at any point. Look, the proper thing to do is to take some questions about this and put it behind you. Any PR person knows that information breeds confidence and silence breeds fear and speculation. I mean, they teach you that on the first day of PR school. I mean, it's the first thing. So you don't say anything and you disappear and you don't think people are going to talk about it? You don't think the team's a little bit worried? Oh, by the way, they drafted your potential replacement in the second round, which they haven't drafted a quarterback that high in 50 years. So do what you want, man. But if you're asking why do I have to deal with all this nonsense, that's why. Brought to you by Supreme Rice.
Yes. I've talked about the parboiled rice, that's enriched long grain rice. What's that mean? Well, it means that it is packed with a lot of vitamins as well, nutrients similar to our brown rice. Versatile and delicious. Our long grain parboiled rice is a perfect complement to every meal, whether it's your next jambalaya, a gravy dish, a stew, a jambalaya, or red beans or white beans and rice. You know what I did the other day, Charlie? I did the marinated the boneless, skinless chicken thighs, put them on the green egg, boom, and did them with the white beans and parboiled rice from Supreme Rice. You can get them in 5-pound, 25-pound, or even 50-pound bags available at all of our area grocery stores.
And, of course, it's part of the Climate Smart program, talking about water conservation and reducing methane emissions here so that future generations of Louisiana farmers can enjoy the same benefits. Look for the Climate Smart packaging on all Supreme Rice products.
So it's on you got the front of the bag, and in the back you'll see that Climate Smart tag on the upper right-hand corner.
For more information and great recipes, go to supremerice.com. Live at Doe's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
LSU wrapping up a 9-game homestand tonight against Southeastern. LSU, number 2 in the country in all of the significant polls. Southeastern, this is the second to last.
Number 2?
Yeah, number 2.
Wow.
Yeah, that Sunday game was a big deal. I think the difference between winning and losing that Sunday game and winning and losing that series against Tennessee is probably as much as 6-7 spots in the national rankings, and it actually didn't help their RPI as much as I thought it would. It's still sitting right there at about 9, but right now they're as big of a lock if the selections were today for a top 8 national seed as you can be.
I mean, if you go down like everybody thought they were in the 9th inning on Friday, I mean, where would they be ranked?
You would probably be about 8 or 9. Tennessee carries a lot of weight, man, a lot of weight. Southeastern is 33-11. They're not bad. They're in first place in the Southland. It's a really competitive Southland race. They're at 18-6 in the Southland. McNeese is a game behind them. They played 17-7. They're one game back, and then the team in between them has played one fewer game. One extra series because of the way the schedule falls there. It's UTRGV. I had to look at that one for a second. UTRGV is in second place in the Southland. And it's the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley. I had to look at that one for a second. 19-8. Anyway, Southeastern 18-6 in the Southland. McNeese has got a really good team that we saw earlier this year. They're 17-7. The Tigers are going to Texas A&M this weekend, who lost 3 straight one-run games at Texas this past weekend. Here's what I'd like to see tonight. There were a couple of LSU relievers that, this is a broken record kind of deal, but we'd like to see get going. Throw them out there again tonight. William Schmidt is one. Chase Shores is another. We may see a little bit of Connor Ware, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if his role is a lot more prominent in the coming weeks in Southeastern Conference play. So you'll see a little bit of him. You'll see a little bit of the rest of the bullpen. LSU in the RPIs, boy, it is jammed up there at the top. Texas at number 1 off that sweep. They're 19-2. Georgia only 12-9 in the league, but they're number 2 RPI. Vanderbilt, same conference record. They're number 3. Auburn, who swept LSU, is 11-10 in the league, but a number 4 RPI. And Arkansas, who LSU will see in a week, is 14-7, and they're the number 5 RPI team. Then you get the 3. You get the 3 ACC teams: Florida State, North Carolina, and Clemson, who was swept this past weekend. That was one of the bigger surprises. North Carolina State is a good team, but Clemson had really, really been rolling, and they went to NC State and got swept in Raleigh this weekend. So they have dropped a little bit.
I think the rankings are the most significant thing by far, as we've been talking about, top 6A, top 7 or 8, whatever, and, 7 of the top 10. After Texas and LSU 1 and 2 in D1 baseball rankings, the next 6 are not from the SEC. Clemson, North Carolina, Florida State, Oregon State, Irvine, and then we get to Georgia at number 9.
Yeah, that's significantly different than the RPI. Did you say Oregon State? I get. Did you say Oregon? Where did they have them ranked?
Number 6.
Take a gander what their RPI is.
25,
36. I mean, that's a pretty low RPI. They're 14-7 in the Big Ten, but that's even with the West Coast teams. That's the Big Ten. Now, Oregon State, we talked about them a little bit earlier. They're playing as a baseball independent, so it's very tough to schedule. Their strength of schedule is a very respectable 57 for a team that is remotely located and not in a conference. I think that's pretty good.
Tennessee down to 12.
Yeah, that their RPI is still in the top 10. Just remains to be seen what the committee is going to do as far as the volume of SEC teams. Are you going to give them 6 national seeds out of 8? Are you going
How many of the top 8 in RPIs?
5. And LSU is
that
number
was
9.
like 7. That was and they're 9.
Number 9, and I would say.
So you seeing and you said LSU's unanimous number 2.
Yeah,
across the board.
Among the polls that I really Baseball America, USA
Clemson
Today,
gets
D1
swept
baseball.
is still 3. Got swept at number 3.
Yeah, and their RPI went down to number 8. So that was a pretty significant fall. But I mean, you won 5 out of 7 SEC series. You were certainly competitive with Texas in the series there on the road. You got swept at Auburn, okay? You didn't play well that weekend, and you got swept. That's the only real blemish on this record. I don't think the midweek game meant anything.
What's the conference record now?
14-7.
To 11-7 after Missouri 3 you take out.
Yeah, Missouri is the drag on the ticket. Hunt's got a nice column up at LouisianaSports.net right now about the teams in the SEC that have played Missouri and those that haven't, and they're a drag on the ticket. There's no question.
It's of note. It's never had this before.
No, they're a quad 4 win. If you I know they use it for basketball, but they're a quad 4 win. They're a 150 something RPI, and when you play a Southeastern Conference schedule, I mean, to be that far down, it's kind of hard to do. I mean, you really got to try.
0-21 will help.
Yeah, 0-21 will do it, and again, they're defying baseball logic.
Going from, for you sports gamblers out there, the weekend they played Oklahoma. I think game 1 was like we talked about this at Thursday. That was Easter weekend. It was like minus 400, minus 420, which is a lot for a baseball game. But we suggested, to go with it because Oklahoma was on the road, and once they get to, they keep batting. It's better to take a run line. We laid as much as 6.5 runs. They won every game by 10-run rule. Alabama on Saturday was a minus $2,200 favorite. That's 22-1 on a college baseball game.
And they won.
That is.
This is how bad.
In hindsight, maybe last night's Heat Cavaliers game should have been 22-1.
Yeah, maybe.
But
I'll give Hunt credit. I mean, if you need a little bit more detail on 0-21, as if that's not detailed enough, Hunt did a really good job. You can read the whole article at LouisianaSports.net. They've been run ruled in 10 out of 21. Just almost half. They have been outscored 240-81, an average of 11.4 to 3.9 a game. And their RPI is 98 spots worse than the 15th place team in the league, which is South Carolina. It is a historically bad season for Missouri. We're brought to you by Coastal Capital Advisors, your full-service financial planners when it comes to retirement. No two situations are alike, so let Coastal Capital Advisors work with you. No matter what your age, no matter what your salary is, they'll work for a plan that will be best for you. They'll build that relationship. They'll keep you up to date, that lifetime relationship. I know because that's what they've done for me. Personally, I would recommend Phil Fontenot and his staff, 337-981-1376. Online is coastalcapitaladv.com. Advisory services provided by New Age Advisors, member FINRA, SIPC. Live at Doe's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Lunch with Ott and Hanny from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Don't forget our friends at Workbox. Workbox can handle all of your more movable storage needs, commercial or residential. We talk about the different sizes that the shipping containers come in. So 8x8, 8x10, those are for limited space situations. 8x20 units give you more storage space without taking up unnecessary space. And an 8x40, well, that's for that's our largest options for jobs requiring more space. Don't forget our home box residential units for storage and moving. That allows you to do it at your own time instead of getting like a truck where you got to load it up all at once, get it moving, things like that. You can do it at your own pace. We'll come deliver it from one location to the next. So Workbox Storage, again, 343-4880. And WorkboxLLC.com. Tonight in the NBA, Charlie got a quadruple header, 5 o'clock to 9:05. So 5:05 to 9:05, and you got a couple of handicapping opportunities here. First of all, Indiana again looking to close it out. Milwaukee, as soon as Lillard went out, that in-game adjusted too. They were looking for a home comeback by Milwaukee. Then they kept it where Indiana was still big favorite. So you couldn't come back and middle it at that point. But Indiana went on to win. But they're scoring over 120 points a game. And I just don't see any type of fight. We're talking about short-term and long-term. The Bucks are screwed. I mean, they are really screwed. Achilles, he'll be out all the next season. And at 30, when he turns 35 in July, how much longer? So short-term, long-term, they went all in with this Lillard move and gave so much. So it just hasn't worked. And they are a terrible matchup against Indiana. They gave Milwaukee, this was almost a pick 'em for the series going into it. For the series bet, it's going up to 8 now. If I'm going to bet it, I would suggest taking it now. It's going from 7.5 to 8 at the Queen, at the DraftKings outlet. I would get on Indiana right now. Game 2 is at the Mecca, Madison Square Garden. Interesting line in this one, Charlie, that both games 1 and 2 of this series at New York, at this location, were 6.5. This one's at 5.5. So the odds makers do respect a little finality, a little urgency on the Pistons' part here. And so I'm kind of with them a little bit. But this line is, it's low. I'm kind of stuck on this one, which one to take. All right, big guy. See you, man. And so I'm interested what your input is on that one because that line is short. You should be getting a little bit more. The Knicks in Brunson was so big. It went down with an injury. He didn't look like he was returning for the game. Maybe the series. So it's similar, re-aggravated injury, came back, and he was the difference. They fell behind. They were up 16, fell behind as much as 10. He came back and led the comeback. Karl-Anthony Towns hit some huge shots in that one. That's always dangerous territory, relying on a guy like that. Game 3, Orlando and Boston. Orlando is limited on the offensive end. There's no doubt. Boston, you can kind of see, just really not respecting them, picking their spots when they kind of get serious and when they don't. They lost Game 3, so they had a comfortable lead. Orlando tied it up with 3 minutes to go, and they still win by 9. No Drew Holiday again, so he was out for Game 4. He'll be out again tonight, and then. Brown, and may be out for this one as well. He's questionable, so keep an eye on that one. This line is ballooned up to 11.5. Maybe a little heart here for the Orlando Magic, maybe to stay close. That's a big number. Got to watch out for Brown though to see if he's playing. That's a pretty big firepower. And then Clippers and Nuggets. Clippers road favorite here, 1.5 point favorites. They were Both of these games went down to the wire. First game, the Nuggets overcame a double-digit second-half deficit, got into overtime and won. Game 2, the Clippers, we talked about that Kawhi Leonard. That was unbelievable game. It took all of that for them to win in the last minute in that game. Kind of favor maybe the Nuggets here catching points at home. I think there's a little value in that one after their buzzer beater on Game 4. So this one seems like it's going 7, huh? It kind of has that feel, huh?
It does. The Nuggets would win here. The Clippers would win on Thursday and set up the weekend Game 7. I don't have a strong opinion on whether Indiana is going to cover that number or not. I think that they probably will. The second game, though, where you asked, I'm outside of the 21-0 run in Game 1. Don't these teams feel like they've been inside of 5.5 points most of the way? I know 2 of those games were in Detroit, but Detroit won a game at the Garden too.
Here's the flip. Detroit in the first 2 games was leading for what? Or maybe the Knicks were leading for like 10% of the entire time.
Right.
Okay, at home. It's been a flip on the other side. The Knicks have been leading for 80 to 90% of the time on the road. So game control, the Knicks have been ahead. Brunson went down. That's when the Pistons went ahead. I mean, they were down as much as 16 in the first half. So that's the big story within the story that you don't see in the final box is game control's been all Detroit on the road. I'm looking for a home team to kind of maybe take control finally.
I'm going to take the Pistons in the points. I'm going to take the Nuggets in the points. I'm going to take the Celtics, regardless of who plays tonight, and the Pacers. So I have 2 favorites and 2 dogs.
My favorite's the Pacers tonight. So they are scoring 120. You can write it down.
One other note, when you talked about Milwaukee, screwed short term, screwed long term. This is fascinating, and there's a Pelicans tie here because their draft capital is decimated until 2030 off of the trades that they have made to try to chase a title. And with Lillard out all of next year, and Giannis now at I think he will be 30 in the offseason, 30 this offseason. I'm sorry, he's 30 now. He will be 31 right at the beginning of next season. So this is a pivot point for them. If I don't know that they can put together a team around Giannis that is a championship contender with the salary that Lillard sucks up.
They got to blow it up. They got to trade him.
Yes,
they got to trade him.
That's what I think too. Is this is the offseason to trade him, start your rebuild, recoup your draft capital that you've all lost. Now the thing is, if they do that, they're going to be bad. And you get their pick if you're New Orleans in 2026. You got a pick swap. And in 27, if you get a pick swap and a favorable lottery draw, you could get a top pick out of that one as well. So it's in the Pelicans' best interest that Milwaukee ships Giannis out in this offseason and has a bad year next year because they can swap picks with him. And that's exactly what David Griffin was trying to do in both of those trades, the Anthony Davis trade and the Drew Holiday trade, which was that if the Lakers, if at some point LeBron decided to bolt and Davis got hurt or, got eventually moved, if the Lakers were bad, those picks would be really good. And he thought the same thing about Milwaukee. If at some point Giannis forced his way out, Milwaukee would be bad. That could turn into a really premium pick. So not exactly the way he drew it up, but it could pay dividends for the Pelicans down the road.
Here's one for you. Pacers, alternate line, minus 19.5, win about 20 or more, plus 365 available at the Queen.
You want to lay 19.5, but it's a nice price. Plus, what did you say, 365?
Plus 365.
Okay, that's
they're gonna be ugly.
That's an awful lot. Yeah, you're right. I think they're ready to
I'm
bow
trying to
out.
find the team total on this whole thing for the Pacers tonight. So.
Look for that for a second, and I'm going to tell everybody about the Thibodeau store at 900 St. Patrick Highway. if you're getting the yard together, we're deep into well into spring now, but if you still got some yard work to do, get onto the website and the lawn care products with some significant discounts on a lot of your seeding, a lot of your fertilizers, a lot of your potting and topsoils, your spreaders and seeders, or all your grass and weed control. All of those are on discount right now at doitbest.com/Thibodeau store. Of course, all of your traditional services, key cutting, paint matching, pro paint services, screen and glass repair. And once you get the property looking good, you want to spend some time outside. Patio furniture on special right now at the website. Grills, there is a huge amount of grills on special at the website. And if you want to go in-store, the Big Green Egg Cooker is the ultimate cooking experience with all of the accessories available at the Thibodeau store. You need lumber. They'll deliver it for you out of their sister property at the Pierrepont store. So check them out now, 900 St. Patrick Highway, and, of course, the Cajun Cooking Specialty Cookware that they'll ship right to your door. 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodeau, and doitbest.com/Thibodeau store on the web.
Live. Over 122.5 plus 230.
Okay.
Over 122.5 team points for the Pacers tonight, plus 230. They've averaged that.
Back to wrap it up here at Doe's Eat Place, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Back here at Doe's live at lunch. Enjoying the good weather here today. We're in the Crown Town Room. Great place to come on by and stop for lunch. So many different options here. That, they're known for their steaks, Jimmy, but you can get.
It's dinner time.
Yeah, that's at dinner time. The lunch menu, which includes that meatball po' boy, the grilled shrimp salad is one of my favorites here.
Yeah, they do a really good kind of Creole honey mustard dressing. It's homemade over here. It's really good.
That is outstanding. Okay, 4 NBA games plus LSU baseball tonight. That is what's on our agenda. And I gotta go home. I gotta spend a little time studying this this statement that was put out by Bill Belichick and the girlfriend today, kind of explaining the CBS This Morning interview this past Sunday. Which, if you didn't see it, it's
awkward.
That's being nice. It's one of the more cringe-worthy things. And Belichick did the thing.
She's calling the shots, huh?
It felt like boy, it's going to sound terrible. It felt like a grandchild taking their grandparent to the doctor and answering the questions for him when they asked the questions because they didn't want or couldn't answer the questions. He was promoting a book. He's promoting his new book, but the whole interview was cringy, and I'm not sure that they did themselves any favors with the statement that I read a little while ago. It's just very, very awkward. Tomorrow we'll be in Gonzales at Snow's Seafood and Steak. Hope to have you out there with us as well. Happy birthday, Jordan, and enjoy the rest of your day. For Jimmy Ott, I'm Charles Hannegriff, for Jordan as well. Thank you, and stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.